On the news, PDP to hold convention as Secondos loses suit in appeal court. "86 out of 5,720 polling units in Niger state have no voters," INEC boss reveals. And Niger loses $1 billion annually to gas flare data falsification. We're glad to have you join us on News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The suspended national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Uche Secondos, has lost his bid to stop the opposition party's convention. This comes as the appeal court in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, granted the People's Democratic Party, PDP, the right to hold its national convention. Secondos has approached the Court of Appeal to challenge his removal as chairman. He also sought an order of injunction restraining the PDP from holding its national convention, scheduled for October 30th and 31st. But joining us now to discuss this further is the chairman, Niger Bar Association section on public interest and development law, Barrister Monday Ubani. Thank you so much for joining us on News Now. The appeal court has finally given its verdict, which empowers the PDP go ahead with its convention. How significant is this court judgment to the PDP?
My lovely sister, thank you for having me. I think that PDP as a political party, we heave what you call a sigh of relief at this development. You know, this judgment was to have come up yesterday, but I think the appeal court postponed it to today, and the convention is starting tomorrow. And so this is clearly a sign of relief for the PDP. And then it's clearly also, if you look at the ruling, I think the court must, at this juncture, try to pander towards the political party, because what harm will be done to Secondos and what harm will be done to PDP if you now restrain PDP from holding that elective convention that is supposed to take place tomorrow and Sunday. And I think the court will always lean in favor of trying to protect a major interest, of the political party, because the danger and the kind of damage that will be done into restraining the convention from taking place tomorrow and Sunday will be more on against the political party. And I think that's how the court have to weigh, the balance, and I think the balance weigh favorably in favor of the political party. Remember, the court also said that Secondos did not take the right step that he's supposed to take. One, he was, according to the findings of the court, suspended at the ward level. He was also suspended at the local government and state level, and step has not been taken by him in order to set aside that suspension by his political party. And now he wants the political party not to hold the convention that is coming up. And the court felt that that cannot in any way be in his favor, because he has not done what he's supposed to do. That is what I was able to infer from the ruling that was delivered today.
Now, moving forward, how will this court order change the sphere of the party forward looking now?
Last hope of the common man. And if the court is actually allowed to do what it's supposed to do in this country, they can do the right thing most of the times. If you have any grievance, the only place you can get relief and get your grievance sorted out is at the judicial level. And the judiciary most times have always tried as much as possible to stabilize the political party. The gale of ex parte orders and counter orders that emanated from our courts, in recent months, gave people a lot of concern, because the situation where most of them were now engaged in forum shopping, going from Port Harcourt to KB, from KB to Cross River and all that, was what they called, the leadership of the bar and bench really condemned. And we should be very careful not to derail our political system. Using the judiciary. Judiciary must be very circumspect in issuing out orders and counter orders, especially when those orders are issued ex parte, without giving the other party a fair hearing. And then people engaging in area where the jurisdiction does not reside. So the courts have to be very careful. But at times, the courts have always come to stabilize also the political system, not allowing the political system to be derailed. And I think this particular judgment has actually saved the PDP from clearly imbroglio. I've been listening to television and radio since last week, on the crisis in PDP, and everyone is looking towards this particular judgment that just came today, whether this convention will hold or not. And most of them have heard, oh, we have hope that judiciary will be able to do the right thing. I think that, as I said earlier, they will give a sigh of relief this evening, that they can go ahead with the convention. So more or less, the judiciary sometimes have always, try as much as possible to do the right thing and stabilize our political system so that we don't have it derailed.
Well, indeed, Chairman, Nigerian Bar Association Section on Public Interest and Development Law, Barrister Monday Ubani, many thanks for your contributions on News Now. Moving on, owing to rising insecurity in the southeast region of the country, political parties under the aegis of Inter-Party Advisory Council IPAC are demanding total professionalism from the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC. The chairman of IPAC, Leonard Nzenwa, gave this charge on Friday ahead of the governorship elections scheduled to hold in Anambra State on November 6. On his part, INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu will disclose that 86 polling units in the state have no voters, explain that deployment of personnel and materials is near completion.
The people of Anambra are scared stiff and have been cowed to stay indoors for the greater part of the days in the last few months. You see this on their faces, you sense this in their air they breathe. You behold fear-stricken population fighting to fend for themselves in the wave of brutal and conscienceless attack on their lives and property. For a proper, well-credentialed poll with complements of acceptable electoral best practices to be held in an environment as this is most unlikely. Electoral polls literature across the globe testify to this. We encourage the Commission to put their best leg forward as we further ahead for this election.
Consequently, out of the 5,720 polling units in Anambra State, 86, representing 1.5%, have no voters at all. The Commission will not be deploying personnel and materials to these polling units. Furthermore, 894, that is 15.6% of the polling units, have between 1 and 49 voters. Election will hold in these polling units. Even while we have 1 voter in a polling unit, will deliver personnel and materials to conduct election for that voter. It's the voter's democratic right to vote in election.
Still on INEC's preparedness, Chairman of the Commission's Information and Voters Education Committee, Festus Okoye, says reports that INEC's ad hoc staff are resigning over insecurity in Anambra State are false and without substance. Okoye will give the assurance in an exclusive interview with TV360 Nigeria, and that plans are in place to ensure a hitch-free voting process.
In terms of our materials, we are good to go. Now, the non-sensitive materials required for this election will be in the central bank in Oka by Monday. We have also completed the training of our electoral officers, assistant electoral officers, supervisory presiding officers, and we have also trained the presiding officers and assistant presiding officers ready for this particular election. So in terms of our preparations, in terms of the trainings we are supposed to do, and also in terms of the basic preparations we are supposed to do, we are on top of the situation. We have also prepared the registration area centers and the super registration area centers where the ad hoc staff will be camped overnight before they will be deployed at the first light on Saturday the 6th of November 2021 for this election. Now, what we normally do is that when we finish the training of the ad hoc staff, we issue them with letters of engagement. As of today, no ad hoc staff has been issued with a letter of engagement. So the issue of resigning from something you have not been engaged in does not even arise in the first place. So this speculation relating to ad hoc staff running away is just from unknown person that is doing this speculation. But I want to say emphatically and without fear of contradiction that the entire country is on edge. There's some level of fear, there's some level of trepidation, there is concern relating to security. So nobody is doubting that, but nobody has resigned as an ad hoc staff.
The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, has revealed that the development of the Niger Delta has been threatened by low budgetary allocations. The minister raised his concern on Thursday while defending his ministry's 2022 budget proposal before the Senate Committee on Niger Delta Affairs. Our correspondent, Anete Patrick, has more in this report.
For lack of funds, more than 300 projects proposed for the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs have stepped down. In its place, the ministry committed 10 billion naira in the current budget to ensure the completion of the East-West Road. Speaking at the committee Project Defense, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, highlighted the inadequacies in the proposed capital of 28.1 billion naira earmarked for the ministry in the 2022 budget.
We've taken cognizance of outstanding projects that will impact positively on the lives of the people of the Niger Delta region. And so we have a total budgetary proposal of about 28.1 billion allocated to the ministry. We urge the committee to look into that. If there is any way that at the end of this exercise you can find a way to upgrade what we have before you, we will be very, very, very grateful.
The chairman and members of the committee had expressed concerns over the current budget proposal for the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs while the national budget is on the increase.
If we look at the allocation to the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, there's nothing to write home about from what we have seen. But we all have to understand that this ministry is a product of what is happening in the Niger Delta Affairs. The rest of that was why the former President Chiradua decided to establish this ministry. And having established it, we believe and sincerely believe that the ministry should be well funded. Funded because there are so many things happening in that Niger Delta. And when there is no adequate fund, there is not much that anybody can do about it.
The Niger Delta region today is the most peaceful place to live in. And for us to keep that peace in that place, this ministry's budget does not satisfy me at all. And it doesn't satisfy a greater majority of Niger Delta people, and all well-meaning people of Nigeria. Because keeping that peace there means the national budget will be on the increase, because that is the wealth of this country.
All from the Niger Delta region has brought Nigeria great wealth, as well as devastating pollution. Spills from oil pipelines have damaged the environment, the livelihoods and the health of residents. Anete Patrick, TV360 Abuja.
Nigeria is losing about $1 billion revenue annually to falsification of gas flare data by multinational oil companies operating in the country. The Chairman, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Abdurrashid Bawa, revealed this yesterday at a one-day workshop on illicit financial flow, gas flaring, and COP 26, organized by Human and Environmental Development Agenda Header Results Center. Our correspondent, Simisola Digun, tells us more in his report.
Nigeria's largest export sector loses about $1 billion revenue annually to falsification of gas flare data. According to the Natural Resource Governance Institute, this menace is perpetrated by multinational oil companies operating in the country. At this workshop, stakeholders say enforcing policies on transparent data submission is critical to blocking loopholes in data tracking systems.
Oil companies operating in Nigeria has over the years been falsifying gas flaring data to cut down on payment of penalties. This as a result not having an independent tracking mechanism to monitor gas flaring data. So the reliance on the figures submitted by international oil companies is one of the things that is costing government to lose revenue.
If there are no sufficient metering infrastructure, the companies will have the incentive to either overstate what is flared. Meanwhile, if you do not have the capacity to independently verify, you will have this problem of not being able to monitor your oil and gas our natural resources effectively.
While international oil companies found wanting have been taken to court, the Lagos Zonal Coordinator of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ahmed Gali, says all effort is being made to ensure that guilty parties are brought to book.
We are in court with some IOCs. We are now in appeal court with some IOCs. And if you check, you will see that a lot have been invited and been investigated.
On the issue of global warming, stakeholders say Nigeria needs to join in efforts to save the climate from complete disintegration.
The argument for the developed countries and leaders of the world to ensure that there's a need for the required resources that Nigeria has been looking for in terms of migrating to the clean energy and also abandoning fossil fuel, and also the possibility of reducing the greenhouse gas emission of the country, which is majorly as a result of the gas flaring.
The World Bank ranks Nigeria as having the 7th largest volume of gas flaring, with 7.83 billion cubic meters in 2019, up from 7.44 billion cubic meters in 2018. But the falsification of gas flare data has resulted in major national revenue loss, running into billions of dollars. Simisola Adigun, TV360, Lagos.
I will take a break here, but still to come, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources seek cooperation over implementation of Petroleum Industry Act. Details of the story and more right after this break. Now here is a reminder of some of our top stories tonight. The suspended national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Uche Secondos, has lost his bid to stop the opposition party's convention. This comes as the appeal court in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, granted the People's Democratic Party, PDP, the right to hold its national convention. Secondos had approached the Court of Appeal to challenge his removal as chairman. We also told you that the INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, has disclosed that 86 out of the 5,720 polling units in the state have no voters. Yakubu will make this known at a special consultative meeting with political parties in Abuja, added that personnel and materials would not be sent to polling units without voters. But in case you missed any of our news bulletin, or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. The Niger Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has recorded an additional 182 cases of COVID-19 infection in Nigeria. According to the agency, the new positive samples bring the total confirmed cases in the country to 211,678. The new infections were reported in 14 states and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, as Taraba topped with 38 cases, while Lagos and Zamfara State recorded 27 and 25 cases respectively. Meanwhile, 45 patients recovered from the virus, while 6 persons died of COVID-19 complications, raising the country's total casualty figure to 2,892. Tonga has recorded its first COVID-19 case after a traveler from New Zealand tested positive. Tonga's Prime Minister, in a televised briefing, announced that the index case is among the 215 passengers who arrived on the flight from New Zealand's city of Christchurch. He, however, added that the patient is fully vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine. The Prime Minister said the Tongan government will on Monday announce if the country will put restriction measures in place. I will take another break here and return with more stories in business. Just stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. Well, up next is Business News with Mary Kanu. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Folashade. We're now in business. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timothy Silva, has assured that the ongoing reorganization of staff deployed from the defunct agencies and the oil and gas sector is to achieve smooth implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act. The Minister made this known at the 5th Quadrennial Branch Delegates Conference of the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, in Abuja. On his part, the branch chairman of NUPENG, Issa Idris, called on the federal government to ensure that no staff in any of the defunct agencies in the sector is relieved of their service in the process of the reorganization.
Efforts towards staff rationalization are on top gear in line with the legal framework of the Petroleum Industry Bill. And I'm sure that NUPENG and Pegasus are to be represented in the process. Anything we are doing, so that there will be no stone left unturned in the process. The Petroleum Industry Act has brought about enormous changes in the industry that will attract further investments in the industry, and the sincere support of your members, NUPENG and even Pegasus, is inevitable for the seamless implementation of the Act.
On our part, that we shall do everything to ensure industrial peace and harmony. That is working closely with your members. And for this reason, we solicit your support. We are coming in at a very critical time in the life of the nation and the industry. By application, I'm referring to the energy transition.
The Petroleum Industry Act has come to stay, and we, the union, we are in support of the Petroleum Industry Act. But our concern is that there should not be job loss and our staff welfare should be maintained.
Well, we'll take a break here and return with a review of the stock market. Please stay with us. It is a pullback for a comeback in the NGX as the bullish run continues, and in the last trading day of the week and month on a positive note as the all-share index rose moderately higher by 0.19% and hits the 42,000 level as the equities market is trying to recover and reclaim its previous highs. Now, the market is riding today on the back of some big names in the consumer goods and financial services sector as Guinness and Custodian top the gainers chart with over 4 Naira gains. Now, market breadth also closed positive, with 32 equities recording gains against 19 underperformance. Now, this scale-up is evident in the overall turnover as volume jumped by 102%, valued at 13,778 billion naira. Now, this amount is higher than the total amount recorded in the previous trading session. Now, the financial services and ICT sector, represented by Regalins and CWG, lost 16 kobo to top the losers chart. Now, to the global scene, it is another mixed trading day for these selected stocks, as US stock Dow Jones is trading in the green at 0.20%. Asian stock Nikkei also rose to 0.25%, while UK stock FTSE fell to 0.16% as investors worry over claims of a potential interest rate hike. Well, that's all on today's review of the stock market. Over to Folashade now for the rest of the news.
Well, thank you very much, Mary, for that update. And now on the foreign scene, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has been charged with misdemeanor sex crime for forcible touching. According to a statement by the court spokesperson, the charge is the first to be filed since the once powerful politician was forced to resign this year following sexual harassment allegations. The complaint accuses Cuomo of indecent touch in December 2020. Cuomo has since denied the charges, claiming he is a victim of political vendetta. Well, up next is Entertainment Reporter News Now.
The Nigerian Official Selection Committee for the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences has announced that movies submitted by Nigerian filmmakers failed to meet eligibility criteria. The committee, which had in September called on Nigerian filmmakers to submit their films for the next edition of the award scheme, cancelled its plans towards the country's participation at the 2022 Oscars. Nigeria attended its first-time feat at the Academy last year with the country's submission of the movie The Milkmaid. Veteran Nollywood actor Joshua Johnson is dead. The actor reportedly died on Thursday, October 28, after battling an undisclosed illness. Several of his colleagues have taken to social media to mourn the passing of the movie star. Until his death, Johnson was one of the popular faces in the movie industry, with a career spanning over 2 decades. May his soul rest in peace. And that is all that we have for you in the entertainment segment of News Now.
Away from entertainment now to sports, the former caretaker committee chairman of the Niger Basketball Federation, Musa Kida, has announced the indefinite suspension of NBBF's elective congress earlier scheduled for Saturday, October 30th, 2021. Musa Kida, through a communique of an extraordinary congress of the NBBF on Thursday, says he has decided to obey the ministry's advice to postpone the elective congress. The former chairman had initially rejected the ministry's directive, insisting that the elections will go on as scheduled. And it's a wrap on our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.